Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Living Beyond Limits. If you don't know, I'm Reverend Jennifer Spear. We are a part of Centers for Spiritual Living, and I welcome you all this morning. And if you are new to us today, from the very bottom of our hearts to yours, welcome. We're so glad that you joined us. And so let's begin this service by reading the vision statement that's on the front of your bulletin. We are a sanctuary where people can discover and reveal the presence of God within their own being and experience their oneness with all life. Through the realization of this inner presence of love and peace, we give way to the evolutionary impulse of the divine and become a beneficial presence in the world. So that's what's happening here, is we are giving ourselves the opportunity to awaken to or to remember that we indeed are spiritual beings by nature, that who and what we are spiritual beings, and that everything is the outpicturing of the one infinite presence, that one infinite spirit that is so easy to see expressing through nature, but it also expresses through us. That means then that we do not have to seek outside of ourselves for love or for peace or for wholeness. Those things are already innate to our beingness. They are who we are and what we are. That means then when we're out in the world, of course we would prefer the world be peaceful and loving and kind and generous and inclusive, but we don't rely on it in order for us to be those things. So as we awaken to the truth that peace and love and wholeness and power and joy and beauty and magnificence, all those things live within us, then it's easier for us to bring those things into this world, into the conversations, into our relationships. And as we do that, we become a healing presence. We become a beneficial presence. And not just in the particular moment we find ourselves in, but because everything is connected and part of this whole, it actually ripples out the energy of that and affects the whole. So I thank each and every one of you for walking this path, for bringing your spirit and your light into this world in a way that is beneficial to everyone. Thank you for that. So, as human beings, one of our greatest needs is to be seen and known. We see it all the way from little kids who are riding their bike and going, look at me, or, I used to have someone in my life who was like 4, every time she went down the slide to go in the pool, look at me, to even when we get old, it doesn't matter how old we are, to get a birthday card in the mail or a Mother's Day card or a Father's Day card, it feels so gratifying to be seen, to be recognized, to be known. And in the early days of humankind, it was really elementary to our survival to be seen and known. For we needed to be seen by our tribe so that we wouldn't be abandoned. It affirmed our safety, being seen and known, and it affirmed our belonging. And so we're no longer cavemen today, but we still have a deep need within ourselves to be seen and known and loved for who we are, with all of our messiness and all of our quirkiness and whatever it is and whoever we are. And we also want to just be able to authentically be ourselves as we live our life. Because when we are authentically ourselves and we're still loved, then it validates us as human beings. When we are seen and known, that fosters this sense of belonging. It tells us that we matter. It tells us that we're acceptable. And what happens when we feel loved and accepted and acceptable? We actually open ourselves up and we reach out more. We are more generous and kind and caring and sharing. We connect with people better. So that creates when we are open and vulnerable, when people love us and see us, then we actually have stronger connections with those people that see us than if they don't. So belonging is really essential to our well-being. It's the core of our relationships. It's the core of our friendships. We have been created as human beings to be in relationship, to be in circles, to be in groups, to be in tribes, to have close ties with other people. And the funny thing is, the flip side of that, so we have this inborn need to belong and to be seen and known, but the flip side of that is we also have this inborn thing where we want to protect ourselves. We have a need for self-protection and a need to avoid pain and to avoid hurt and to avoid rejection. And sometimes out of that need, what happens is it causes us to show up not as our authentic selves. It causes us to show up not as the fullness of who we really are. Instead, sometimes it causes us to only show what they think will be acceptable. So that's all we end up showing them, not who's really in here. And I think that we do that because we feel like we have this need to be perfect, because to us we equate being perfect with being enough. So there's a story that says, there was a man who was feeling very poorly. So he went to the clinic for a complete checkup. When it was all over, his wife asked him what the doctors had decided the problem was. "I really don't know," replied the man. "They wouldn't tell me a thing. But I did eavesdrop a little, and I heard one of them say something I can't quite figure out. He said they'll find out for sure at the autopsy." We hide what's really in here sometimes. We hide from each other what it is we're thinking and feeling. So the catch is when we show only part of ourselves to others, then others never really get to see who we really are or really know us. And then we don't feel seen, we don't feel accepted, we don't feel like we belong, we don't feel loved. And what's really crazy then is we keep those walls up so people don't really see who we are. But you know what happens? That's the very thing that keeps our insecurities alive. It's the very thing that keeps us in self-doubt. It's the very thing that keeps us believing maybe we really aren't enough in whatever realm you think that about yourself. And it keeps us from having deep and intimate connections with other people. So I'm talking today about authenticity and vulnerability. I'm talking about that when we allow ourselves to be authentic, when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, what happens then is and people like us anyway, then we discover that we really are lovable. We discover that we were really lovable all along. Why are you guys laughing? It is true. That's the only way we really discover it, is when we really put ourselves out there and are vulnerable. Then we discover we're really okay. We discover that we were worthy and lovable all along. So the result is, the crazy thing then, is it creates greater self-acceptance. It creates greater self-esteem. It creates more self-confidence inside of us. And it creates deeper and more intimate connections with other people. So I think we all know what authentic means, to be authentic. But what does it mean to be vulnerable? I think sometimes we think to be vulnerable means we're going to get hurt or something like that. But to be vulnerable really means to be defenseless, to be exposed, to be sensitive, to be unprotected. And so Greg Lavoie, who is a minister out of Centers for Spiritual Living, said, when someone is vulnerable, they're allowing themselves to be seen fully, honestly, without armor. Vulnerability is the act of sharing your thoughts, emotions, fears, or needs without knowing how others will respond. It's about opening the door to connection, even when there's a risk of rejection, judgment, or misunderstanding. It's about choosing openness with the right people at the right time for the sake of real connection. It's not weakness, it's courage in motion. It takes courage to be vulnerable. It takes courage to be authentic. It also takes self-love and self-acceptance. But the crazy thing is, when we are vulnerable and authentic, then we learn to love ourselves more. It's like the automatic reaction. There's more self-love and self-acceptance. That's the result of it, and the connection that we so desire to have with other people. You know, I don't know if you know this, but one of the reasons that going to therapy, like talk therapy, is so helpful is because we get to reveal all the stuff that you don't want anyone to know, the worst things that you've thought, the worst thing that you did, the thing you can't forgive yourself for, whatever, the places that you were hurt. And that therapist listens to you and hears all of it and loves you and supports you and cares about you. And what happens out of that is we learn that we are really acceptable and lovable, so that we in turn love ourselves and accept ourselves more. So authenticity then, what it does is and vulnerability create greater intimacy in all of our relationships, just like that. You know, I think all of you know probably that I work as a hairdresser part-time. I have for 45 years. It's incredible. And there are a couple clients, probably 3 clients that I have that I don't like very much. And you know why I don't like them? They never reveal anything about themselves. They never share their inner world, what they're feeling, what's real and hard and whatever for them. I don't get to see who's inside. And so if I only know this much of a person, that's as much as I can like. So it's when we're vulnerable that people can really love us and appreciate us, because then they know who we are. It's not you, CJ. That's hilarious. You know, there's that a saying that says you have a soft spot for someone. You know, that soft spot means that you really like them, you really care about them, you really love them. But you know what? To have a soft spot for someone requires that they have a soft spot and that you have a soft spot. That's what creates the soft spot in you for them. And so, you know, I really like to talk about and focus on here is really about spiritual living. It's not about religion. It's about how to live a spiritual life, how to bring your spirit into the world, how to spiritualize this world. That's what I like to focus on and talk about here. And so today I'm talking about that when we are authentic and when we are vulnerable, what happens is it allows other people to be authentic and to be vulnerable. And then what happens is we are all seen, and we are all known, and we are all loved, we are all accepted, we all feel connected to each other. And in that sense of belonging, then we're able to create a world where everyone belongs, where everyone is part of this one human family, where we're all seen and accepted and belong, where that becomes the norm. Would you like to live in a world where that's the norm? Everyone's accepted and loved and cared for? That's like creating heaven on earth. That's what our spirits want. So in turn, what happens then is we're able to bring our spirit into the world more easily because it feels safe. Because we've created it being safe inside of ourselves. And then other people feel safe, and then they can also let their walls down and bring their spirits into this world in a way that is healing and loving and caring and inclusive and creating the world that we want to live in. Julian O'Connor said, "When you let me see you, you give me permission to be seen." You know, as spiritual beings, we long to feel connected to each other. And I really think that's because in the invisible realm, our spirits are all already connected to each other. They've always been connected to each other. So when we feel connected to other people, we have a sense of coming home. That's the place our souls long to be. So connection isn't something we create. Connection is something that is revealed, something that already existed. It's not something we create. It's something that's revealed when we allow ourselves to be authentic and vulnerable. Vulnerability creates that intimacy and that belonging and that connection and that love that was always present. We just couldn't see it. And I know that it feels risky to be vulnerable. It feels risky because we think things like, if you really saw who I really am, you might judge me. It says that I don't want to share my personal struggles with you because you might judge me. We say, I don't want to ask for what I want because you might reject me. We think if we're vulnerable, maybe you're going to hurt me. I don't want to open my heart to you and love you or tell you, be the first one that says I love you, because you might not love me in return. You might decide you don't like me. If I shared my feelings with you, you might betray me and tell everyone else what I told you. I don't want to say I'm sorry first, because what if you don't take responsibility for your part then, and all the blame gets put on me? And so we keep ourselves from being vulnerable and authentic and honest. But vulnerability comes only when we share our feelings, when we share difficult experiences, when we risk somebody knowing who we really are, even when we try something new. It was the coldest winter ever. Many animals died because of the cold. The hedgehogs, realizing the situation, decided to group together to keep warm. This way they were covered and they protected themselves. But the quills of each one wounded their closest companions. After a while, they decided to distance themselves from one another, and they began to die alone, frozen. So they had to make a choice: either accept the quills of their companions or disappear from Earth. Wisely, they decided to go back to being together. They learned to live with the little wounds caused by the close relationship with their companions in order to receive the heat that came from the others. That way, they were able to survive. We will all inevitably get hurt. It's part of living this human life. It's part of loving. It's part of caring. It's part of being connected to each other. It's part of having relationships. And we all survive it. It's inevitable. And the payoff certainly outweighs the injuries that we get. In risking, what happens, though, is we get to be fully alive. We get to be fully ourselves in this world. We get to be free and open. Jim Blake, who is the CEO of Unity World Headquarters, actually who I just met at the conference I went to. He's a wonderful man. He said, true strength isn't in the armor we wear, it's in the openness we allow. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's courage made visible. Our hearts, open hearts, heal people and heal worlds. We cannot heal this world without an open heart. And when we are open-hearted, it invites other people to be open-hearted. When we live authentically, it allows other people to live authentically also. So in reality, and when we do that, we actually realize that we don't have to be perfect to be loved. You know, I've said so many times, Ray Bunch, who was one of our practitioners, was so imperfectly lovable that we all learned so much from him that we don't have to be perfect to be loved. It's not about being perfect. So we learn that we don't need to be perfect in order to be loved or to belong or to be enough. A priest was in charge of the garden within a famous Zen temple. He had been given the job because he loved the flowers and the shrubs and the trees. Next to the temple, there was another, smaller temple where there lived a very old Zen master. One day, when the priest was expecting some special guests, he took extra care in tending to his garden. He pulled the weeds, trimmed the shrubs, combed the moss, and spent a long time meticulously raking up and carefully arranging the dry autumn leaves. As he worked, the old man on the other side of the fence watched him with interest and from across the wall that separated the temples. When he had finished, the priest looked back to admire his work. "Isn't it beautiful?" he said. He called out to the old master next door, and the old man replied, "Yes, but there's something missing. Help me over this wall, and I'll put it right for you." After hesitating, the priest lifted the old fellow over and set him down. Slowly, the master walked to the tree near the center of the garden, grabbed it by the trunk, and shook it. Leaves showered down all over the garden. "There," said the old man, "now you can put me back." You aren't meant to be perfect. You're meant to be you. You're meant to be authentic and vulnerable and show the world who you are and live from your own true self. And not having to be perfect lets us take our walls down. Those walls that keep us from being seen and known and loved. Those walls that we think keep us safe. But it's not about the safety out there. Those walls keep it not safe in here. So the walls allow us to be free and to really be safe. And when we feel free and when we feel safe, then we come to the world with more of an open heart, with more open hands and an open spirit. We bring kindness and gentleness and care to what we do then, because we're open. And so my invitation to you this week is to know that you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be perfect. To know that you already and always have been enough. You are enough right now. You always have been. You always will be enough. So love yourself and approve of yourself and embrace yourself. Trust in yourself so that others can trust you with revealing their own essence, who they really are, their own authenticity. And then we all can live with authenticity. Result will be greater intimacy in your relationships, closer connections, and more satisfaction just in living this human life. More satisfaction in your relationships. Know that you are safe to express who you are, to be who you are, to be authentic and vulnerable as you lower your drawbridge. So blessings to all of you as you walk this path of opening your heart and your spirit so that you are able to bring that into this world. Blessings to you. And so I invite you to join me in an affirmative prayer. And so we turn our attention to that infinite presence, that one power, that one beingness, that one energy, that one vibration, that one thing that is the cause of everything in this universe, that sustains and animates and uplifts and expresses itself through all of it. That one presence, that one power that is closer than our very breathing. For yes, indeed, it does surround us and envelop us and fill all of time and all of space, and it also lives within us. For it is really the very essence of who and what we are. And so in recognition of that, then, I recognize that all the love we could ever need is right here within us. The peace of the infinite is right here. The wisdom, the intelligence, the guidance, the intuition that Spirit speaks to our hearts and minds and leads us and guides us into paths of peace, paths of unity, paths that are healing and restorative and uplifting, where love is that which is expressed and that which is experienced. And so I know that we are here on this planet Earth to be that presence of love. And so as we begin by loving ourselves and accepting and approving of ourselves, it is so much easier to love out in the world. And so I know right now that something has been stirred and awakened and healed inside of us today. So that as we leave here, we bring that spirit of love with us everywhere we go. And we create unity. We live from an awareness of oneness with spirit and oneness with each other. We bring healing to a planet that is so hungry for care and belonging. And so I speak this word not just about us, but I speak this word about every single person on this planet, knowing right where they are is the fullness of the presence of the Infinite One. And that right now it is unfolding itself in the lives of each and every single person, meeting the exact need that is being desired to have it fulfilled right now. For I know that Spirit is an abundance and an opulence and a power for all good. So right now, it is Spirit's good pleasure to pour itself out as a blessing. And so right now, there is an openness and an acceptance of that which is desired. And I know for us, part of that desire is peace and unity and wisdom. And so I speak this word also about every single politician, every single world leader, knowing that the same intelligence that holds the planets in their orbits, that same intelligence that turns breakfast into bone and muscle, that same intelligence right now is expressing itself profoundly in the minds and in the hearts of every single one of these politicians. That it is speaking a truth of oneness, a truth of this one human family, a truth of that love is what is being called for, and it is what we are here to do and who it is we are here to be. And so I know that healing is unfolding itself. There's an opening in every single person. For at our essence, we are each and every one of us spirit. And that is revealing itself now. And so I release this prayer into that creative law of the universe, knowing that it is already unfolding itself because it is true. And we place our faith and our confidence and our trust right there and anticipate a great unfolding. And so I release this prayer, and in gratitude, I invite you to join me in saying, and so it is. And so I do have some invitations for you. Is Barbara Conant, where's Barbara Conant? Is today the last day for the Mother's Day gifts?
No,
Next week. So we've been participating in a Mother's Day project for women who are staying at the shelter. If you signed up to participate in that we're giving them toiletry items, putting together gift bags of toiletry items. If you signed up, next week is the week that you need to bring them back if you haven't already done so. On May 5th, we are having a women's movie festival at Joy Jane's house. Joy. It is movies written and directed by women, starring women, about women. And we did it last year, and it was so much fun. So it's going to be on May 5th at 5 p.m. We chose that time because then everybody can do it. People that work can come after work, and people that don't drive in the dark, it's still light out by the time you leave. So we'll watch several shorts and talk about them and just hang out and have a good time. So put that on your calendar. Our Sunday talks are available on our website and on our YouTube channel. We ask you to check in on Meetup and say that you're coming, to follow us on Facebook and share the posts, to follow us on Instagram. We have a new QR code on the bulletin, so if that is something how you want to donate, you can do the QR code. It takes you to our website that has PayPal, or we have a Zelle. You can do it directly through Zelle. We also have prayer support after service. If you would like a prayer, will you raise your hand if you're in this room? If you're a practitioner, we're happy to sit and pray with you. We have a ministry of prayer box. You can fill out a prayer request, and we'll support you during the week. We have prayer shawls that you're invited to take one with you for anything you would like to be wrapped in prayer about, and the practitioners will pray over it before you take that for your specific desired outcome. And so today, you don't know this, well, not really today, but the end of this month is our anniversary, our 15-year anniversary. So we're celebrating our anniversary here. I invite you to repeat after me. Good fills my life now.
good fills my life now.
I recognize it. I savor it. I love it. And I live it. And so it is.